Let's go live to Melbourne now. This is the Victorian Premier Jacinta Allan. She's providing an update on the bushfire situation across the state.
Alongside the work of our emergency services who were protecting the township around you. I also want to recognise and thank those local residents who were able to leave, who took the advice. When people were told to leave, they left. And I've heard this again here this morning. And that is just another important and incredibly powerful example as to why when you get that emergency warning alert on your phone or on your emergency Vic app, when you are told to leave by the emergency services, you must do so because it protects lives, it saves lives, it supports the work like the health staff here at the Alexandra District Hospital. It helps the work of the firefighters on the ground. So again, thank you to the local community who took the advice, who responded, because it's another example of how by being prepared, by responding early, we've been able to protect and save lives. And this is a story I'm hearing right across the fire-affected communities in Natty Muck yesterday, in Harcourt on Sunday, and when I was at the Seymour Relief Centre on Saturday as well. These stories were how every single Victorian has been playing their role in protecting life and protecting community and supporting our emergency services as well. I should also acknowledge that whilst the staff here are members of the local community, they're also healthcare professionals. So they were also performing those important healthcare roles as well, and I'd like to thank them and acknowledge them for that incredible work. And so we're here today, again, as part of the work I'm doing to get out into fire-affected communities, to thank those communities, to show support for those communities, and also to listen to what the communities are going to continue to need, as some communities, not all communities, are starting to consider that long recovery journey ahead. And before I talk about that recovery journey, just to touch on the fact that we do continue to have fire in the landscape across many parts of Victoria today. There's 12 active fires across Victoria today, but it was pleasing this morning to wake up and get the advice from the Emergency Management Commissioner that there are no emergency warnings currently active across the state. And that, again, is a demonstration of the huge amount of work that the emergency services have done since the fires started late last week to be able to manage this enormous fire risk. But there is still fire in the landscape. There is still significant fires that the Emergency Management Commissioner will refer to, which is why, again, I reiterate the importance of staying tuned to local conditions, staying tuned to the Emergency Vic app and local radio. And if you're told to leave, please do so, because it is just so incredibly important. Also, too, work is being done. Significant work is being done in fire-affected communities to make sure that communities can be accessed for primary producers, for local residents, and also to wanting to ensure that people can get to where they need to go. But for everyone else, please don't come into these fire-affected communities. If you are not a local person, if you're not connected to the local community, please don't. There is a lot of work to be done in terms of continue to get roads reopened safely. And again, you'll be advised when it's safe to get back into these areas. But if you're advised not to come into these areas, please also obey that advice, because police have additional powers now to enforce this requirement under the declaration of the state of disaster. I've mentioned that we're here to continue to listen, to provide support, to provide great thanks, but particularly to understand what more work needs to be done to provide support for fire-affected communities. And so building on that immediate support that was provided from Saturday in the fire-affected communities, the immediate activation of the emergency personal hardship payments that have been underway, and to date we've had nearly 800 of those payments that have been applied for, and we're getting that support, that immediate emergency relief assistance support to people who are in fire-affected communities. The fodder that the Prime Minister and I announced on Sunday, the funding to get fodder out to primary producers to help them feed their livestock, is being rolled out as well, emergency accommodation, and also to those important mental health supports that are being rolled out. And again, if I can reiterate, they're there. These mental health supports are there, and I really do want to encourage anyone who's been affected by these fires, whether you've been personally and directly affected through loss of property or loss of business or loss of livestock, or you're in the local community, adjacent to the local community, or frankly anyone who has been observing this fire event and is traumatised and concerned, please do reach out and get support. It is there. It is so vital that you do, because I know well that these events can have immediate trauma and cause ongoing impacts, and that's why we are prioritising mental health supports for people across the community. Today, we are building on the support that we've previously announced, and I've got a number of announcements to make in terms of the next package of support that's being provided. And again, if I can emphasise that we continue to be at the beginning of the support. This is the next phase of support that's being provided. There will be more support to come, but today's announcements are also in response to what the immediate need is. And part of that immediate need for those communities and households that are starting to move into the recovery phase, we know that as we're at the start of that recovery phase, for some who can, they want to get going. They want to get the clean-up underway. It's a practical way you can get moving. It's also important too, from a wellbeing perspective, that the clean-up gets commenced, which is why today, as part of the joint federal-state disaster recovery efforts, and I want to thank again the federal government and the Prime Minister for their support, we are starting the bushfire clean-up program. An initial $10 million is being allocated through this program, as I said, to commence this clean-up. And you'll note that I've said it's an initial allocation. This is initial because it's based on the advice we have to hand in terms of the known impact. We know there's going to be more impact. We've got hundreds of structures that have already been lost or damaged. We know that number will grow as the impact assessments are undertaken. So that's why we have an initial allocation. And this is particularly focused for uninsured and underinsured households who've lost their primary place of residence to be able to get underway with the clean-up. It builds on what we announced yesterday when I was in Natimuck of the funding for the household re-establishment grants of up to $52,250 for uninsured people who don't have building and contents insurance. And this is to provide that immediate support to start that rebuilding journey. It's a long one, but we need to start it with the clean-up work, which is what this funding is for. Also, too, my government will be investing a further $5 million towards waiving fees at local landfills. So if you're in one of those fire-affected communities across the 18 local government areas and you want to get started with the clean-up, well, you can. And those landfill fees will be waived through this funding support, and that's a way of supporting households, communities, but also local government as well. Also, too, in terms of looking ahead for the recovery, if I can provide some details of the emergency recovery hotline that has been established from today. We have a number. We have 6 relief centres that continue to operate, and 4 recovery hubs have been established. They are physical places where people can go and get significant support from a range of different government agencies, local, state and federal agencies who are there to provide coordinated support, but also too, for those who cannot get to one of those physical locations, we have the emergency recovery hotline that's been established, and that number is 1800 560 760. If I can repeat, because I'm really keen for people to access this number, it's 1800 560 760. And this is where, if you like, it's a one-stop shop. It's a one-stop place to get information. And also, too, we made some announcements on the weekend about case management support as well. This can be accessed through those recovery hubs and the recovery hotline as well. Before I hand over to the Emergency Management Commissioner, I just want to provide one more bit of detail about how Victorians and indeed Australians can support our fire-affected communities. We've already heard so many examples of the best of these communities, the best of Victorians who are responding to the emergency and now also reaching out and providing a huge amount of support to local communities. Well, if people want to continue, and I do encourage people to continue to give support. We've established the Victorian Bushfire Appeal Fund, and donations can be made from today. On the website, the details, if you can go to vic.gov.au/2026 Victorian Bushfire Appeal, you can make a donation, and every dollar that is raised through this appeal is going to go directly into local communities. And again, I thank everyone who's already provided support. There's so many ways, but please do reach out, use that website, vic.gov.au/2026 Bushfire Appeal Fund, and if you can, whatever donation you can give, big or small, will be so greatly welcomed and appreciated. And it's a way that we can all say to these bushfire affected communities that you are in our thoughts and in our hearts, that we're reaching out in ways to show our love, care and support, because the recovery journey is, as I said, it is a long one, and my government will continue to support communities on this recovery journey, and I thank everyone who also wants to support that journey along the way. I'll now hand over to the Commissioner.
That's a Victorian Premier there. There's still a long recovery here across the state as it's been impacted by these big bushfires. You can continue watching that update from authorities on Sky News Weather, Channel 601.